As China dominates the global electric car industry, there's been news from the US government. The Biden administration unveiled new charge rates on $18 billion worth of Chinese imports. They believe the increase is necessary to protect America's car industry from unfair competition.
Under China's market economy system, production capacity and demand are relatively reasonable, and moderate excess is completely normal. Our country must ensure sufficient supply for consumers' overall demand.
The new higher tariff will apply to many imported products. The rates range from 100% on electric vehicles to 50% on components. White House officials also claim that China is producing these at a rate that far exceed any possible estimates of global demand.
We will simultaneously develop our most advanced battery technologies to make cheaper and more cost-effective batteries with the highest energy density and the fastest charging speed.
Beijing has also been known to introduce costly counter-punches. After former US President Donald Trump explained his wide-ranging tariff policy, China slapped on more than $100 billion in US exports. Experts estimated this impacted around 294,000 American export-related jobs. But the US has declined to speculate on how Beijing may respond.
We see China using its own capacity to produce quality goods, which undoubtedly demonstrates its advanced productivity. I think it is necessary and beneficial for every other country to cooperate with China in economic and other fields.
Increasing tariffs on China could help Biden, but analysts warn there could be potential consequences. These new import taxes could impact the domestic economy and individual consumers. While the government says this is a vital economic move, it's unclear what the impact on relations between the two countries will be. Daniel Padwick, TRT World.
Let's bring in Duncan Ringley, a Pantheon macroeconomics chief and China Plus economist, and he joins us now from London. Great to have you with us on the programme.
Thanks very much.
So we've seen sharp increase on tariffs on imports from China. First of all, what do these tariffs include?
Right, they cover strategic industries as defined by the US. So that includes electric vehicles, as you mentioned, solar panels, lithium batteries, chips. Those are some of the main products covered.
That's interesting. I mean, strategic industries, as you say. I wonder, why is Joe Biden doing this now? And does this have anything to do with presidential elections this year?
Yes, absolutely. US presidential elections coming up in November. There's a lot of political pressure from both sides of both parties in the US to be tough on China. The targeting of these industries is pretty small. It's less than 5% of total US imports from China. But it is, President Biden's going around talking to workers in industrial belt areas saying, look, I'm going to protect your jobs by putting on this kind of protectionist measure.
And Biden is doing that. But if Trump were to win the elections in November, what do you expect he will try to do in these respects?
Well, Trump has talked in interviews about slapping on across-the-board tariffs to all countries. But for China specifically, he said, well, it could be 60% or even more. I think what Trump will do, in fact, is to start off by trying to make a big deal with China. He's a deal maker. He had this phase one trade deal with China in the last part of his presidency. I think that will be his first gambit. He'll try to get China to agree to buy a whole load of US-made products to support jobs in the US. If that fails, then I think Trump will start resorting to these sort of big headline-grabbing measures like across-the-board tariffs.
Interesting. And speaking about electric vehicles, do you think there's a need for such a move? I mean, are Chinese electric vehicles really dominating the market already?
Well, they aren't in the US because the US already has pretty high tariffs, 25%. So there's only, I think, 12,000 electric vehicles exported from China to the US last year out of over 1 million Chinese electric vehicle exports. So at the moment, it's very tiny. But the US is right that China has a huge competitive advantage. The retail price of models, of similar models of electric vehicles in China might be half or 1/3 in China compared with, say, Europe. So I think there is an element of anticipation and preparation and, preparing US for potential competition from electric vehicle exports from China, as well as the political side.
Duncan Ringley, great analysis. Thank you for being with us today.